Robert Reich wrote a piece. He called it "Spineless, Greedy CEOs Are Lining Up to Lick Trump's Backside." At a time in American history when the most influential leaders of the U.S. need to stand up loudly and clearly for the rule of law, democracy, and decency, they're leading the charge in the opposite direction. Yes, those are the CEOs, but we never said CEOs were strong. We never said CEOs had a lot of steers. What CEOs are the masters of capitalism. They are the masters of the particular economic structure that we have that makes the few a lot of money. Anyone recall the time in the late summer of 2017 when prominent CEOs resigned from U.S. President Donald Trump's business councils in protest at his defense of white nationalists who marched in Charlottesville after Trump called them very fine people? I thought America's CEOs might become a bulwark against Trump's extremism, but I was wrong. So says Robert Reich. Within months, the CEOs were seeking to get back into Trump's good graces. After the insurrection unleashed by Trump against the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, many CEOs announced they wouldn't be financing the campaigns of election deniers. CEOs of prominent social media banned Trump from appearing. I hoped their actions would limit Trump's fanaticism and Trump's growing MAGA movement. I was wrong, says Robert Reich. Within 2 years, the CEOs were financing the campaigns of election deniers. Within 3 years, prominent social media were allowing Trump to return to their platform and retell his lies. I digress. Yesterday, as I'm writing my 3 o'clock show, I look on the screen and there was Trump giving a news conference. And it was deja vu all over again. And for my brothers and sisters that are MAGA listening, I promise you, I do not suffer from the Trump derangement syndrome. I don't have TDS. What I have is whenever someone is overtly lying, that's one thing. When they're overtly lying to a group of journalists and the journalists are just sitting down taking this stuff in, and we know that the journalists know that he's lying, but they're allowing it to go over their airwaves unchallenged, and at the same time, in that regards, fool people into, well, if the journalists are there and they don't object to what he's saying, they don't correct what he's saying, they don't point out that he's a liar as he is saying it, then it is new food. It's new energy for MAGA because they don't know any better. For the average American citizen, they don't know any better. They're working, taking care of their kids. Their job isn't to do what the journalist's job is to do. We have a fourth estate for a reason. We have journalism for a reason, to keep all else in check. When you have politicians lying, they should be out there telling the American people Donald Trump is lying. And that didn't occur yesterday on his long drawn out press conference. And I sat there listening. And my blood started boiling. And I'm like, it's not America's fault that this guy got reelected. Journalism, it's your fault because you give what he says plausibility with your dereliction of duty. Anyway, continuing with Robert Reich. I confess to having had a moment's thought during the last 8 months that Trump's conviction on 34 criminal counts in Manhattan, his civil conviction for defamation in connection with what a judge termed rape, and his disgraceful nativism, describing poorer nations as a shit holes, using terms redolent of Nazism to describe foreigners as poisoning the blood of Americans, and baselessly accusing Haitians immigrants of eating our pets might force CEOs to rethink their willingness to give Trump a pass. No such luck. Amazon's founder and chief, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, had a rocky relationship with Trump in the first Trump administration. Angry with Bezos over unfavorable reporting in the Post, Trump questioned whether Amazon got a sweetheart deal with the U.S. Postal Service. Amazon, in turn, accused Trump of improperly pressuring the Pentagon to deny the company a major cloud computing contract. Bezos apparently learned his lesson after Trump was shot at a campaign event. Bezos called him on social media, praise Trump's grace and courage under literal fire. That's what the man came close to death. A bullet aimed at him missed and hit his ear. I was in Baltimore when this occurred. I was doing Netroots. And, I saw all the memes that really were like, dang, he missed. I never wanted that bullet to hit. Donald Trump is a horrendously terrible, evil person. But I thought that taking that guy out would be two things. One, it would be a disgrace to the person who did it. Why would you stoop to that level for this guy? And secondly, we want the ballot box to be the place that rules our politics. Our politics ruled by the ballot box. Bezos didn't allow the Post editorial board to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for president. So the editorial board that is supposed to be independent, Bezos as owner of the paper says you cannot print that endorsement of Kamala Harris saying that Kamala Harris was the better choice for the presidency. That is fascism, folks. When you start to change the behavior of the private sector, when you start to change the behavior of the media because of that leader, that is fascism. Industry, journalism, and all facets of your economy being modified to suit the will of your Führer, that is fascism. We are living it. It has already started. We are living fascism, folks. And it creeps up on you. And right now, I can still be on air saying the things that I'm saying. I digress from the piece right now to point this out. I've been in conference calls and etc. about what's going to happen when the media or if the media eventually caves in. Then the independent media is pretty much forced out in many different ways. You don't have to be forced out by somebody coming to your station with a gun and arresting you. You can be forced out in the new media's way of using the internet by throttling. I've already noticed many of us progressive networks have actually been throttled on the internet. There are other ways to get at the independent media. So what we've been talking about is how do we get around the throttling? How do we get it? Throttling means that they don't allow your internet stream to get to all the places that it normally would get to. They make sure you don't get distributed widely. So what I'm telling every independent journalist right now, every independent media, every average American citizen with a sphere of influence. And when I say a sphere of influence, you may not understand that people, when you're on Facebook or Telegram or Instagram or TikTok or all these other platforms, you have a sphere of influence. And if your sphere of influence starts to grow, you could be throttled by one of the billionaires who owns many of these different platforms. Bezos as Amazon, Green, the guy who owns Google, the guy who owns Facebook, Zuckerberg, etc. Notice they are moseying up to Trump right now. What happens when Trump says, hey, there's this person on your platform that a lot of reach has been giving me a hard time. And they don't have to do anything. They don't have to say anything. They just have to, from the coding point of view, ensure that your commentary doesn't get to a whole lot of people or to a group of people. One of the things that we're telling folks right now, build your mailing list, build your telephone list, build all different forms of communicating that you have right now. Because they can get some, they can't get all of them all of the time. But the networking of thousands of small people with spheres of influence is what we will need to do to defeat fascism that is led by Trump and the billionaire CEOs. Note his administration is being run by billionaires before it has even started. They have started sucking up. Continuing, not to be outdone in the groveling department, Meta's Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg got a dinner invitation at Mar-a-Lago. Meta is putting $1 million into Trump's inaugural fund. Of course, Bezos is as well from Amazon. It is an important time for the future of American innovation, Meta said in a statement. Mark was grateful for the invitation to join President Trump for dinner. Zuckerberg sought it. He sought it. It wasn't an invitation. He sought it. And the opportunity to meet with with members of his team about the incoming administration. There's not a damn thing about innovation from the Trump administration. If we take a look at what Biden invested in both chips and technologies, etc., that is the administration that actually thought about investing in innovation, not Trump. Stephen Miller, Trump's incoming deputy chief of staff for policy, told Fox News that Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change we're seeing all around America and the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. In his first administration, Trump accused Facebook of filtering out views favorable to him. He even called Zuckerberg to be jailed in retaliation for plotting against him during the 2020 election. Now, like Bezos, Zuckerberg has turned to fawning. During the campaign, he had several private phone calls with Trump. After the assassination attempt, Zuckerberg told Trump he was praying for him and told an interviewer Trump looked like a badass after pumping his fist to the crowd. These are CEOs. These are billionaires. They don't care about you. You know, some of you get mad when I knock up these billionaires as parasitic fascists, parasites that they are, because they don't create anything. You do. And you get mad if we jump on them when they're abusing you with a smile. Elon Musk and half of Silicon Valley is kissing Trump's derriere, according to Mr. Reich. Last January, speaking from the World Economic Forum's confab in Davos, Jamie Dimon, chair and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, the largest and most profitable bank in the United States and one of the most influential CEOs in the world, heaped praise on Trump's policies while president the first time. Take a step back. Be honest, Dimon said. Trump was kind of right about NATO. Kind of right on immigration. He grew the economy quite well. Tax reform worked. That was out of the mouth of Jamie Dimon, a billionaire who claimed to have a modicum of intelligence, who would like you to believe he's a truthful person, who would like you to believe that he knows what he's talking about. But here's the analysis. Remember, he heaped praises on Trump for immigration, economy, and more. Robert Reich blew that apart. Here's what Robert Reich had to say. Kind of right about NATO? Trump wanted the U.S. to withdraw from the pact and may get his way after January 20th. This would open Europe further to Russian President Vladimir Putin's aggression. Kind of right about immigration? Even the conservative Cato Institute found that he reduced legal immigration, but not illegal immigration. Trump refused to grant legal status to children of immigrants born in the United States or who grew up here, and tried to ban Muslims from the U.S. Grew the economy quite well. In fact, under Trump, the economy lost 2.9 million jobs. Even before the pandemic, job growth was slower than it's been under Biden. Unemployment rate increased by 1.6 percentage points to 6.3%. The international trade deficit that Trump promised to reduce increased. The number of Americans lacking health care increased by more than 3 million people. Come on, billionaires. We know that you don't care about middle class folks, but all the things we just mentioned affected middle class people. Tax reform worked. Trump tax cut conferred most of its benefits on big corporations and the rich, while exploding the federal debt from 14.4 trillion to 21.6 trillion. Why did Dimon, the most influential CEO in America, spout these lies in favor of Trump? Because he thought Trump had a good chance of becoming president, and Dimon wanted to be in his good graces. Folks, that is where executives are at. They don't give a damn about you. They go wherever they can moose up to ensure their billions continue to grow. Don't fall for the con. And to those who take offense when I talk about the capitalist system being a system that simply create parasites that get rich while everybody else works, that is a mathematical formula. Every system, we learned back when I did engineering at the University of Texas, we were able to model systems, mechanical systems, electrical systems, and hydraulic systems. They all have the same functionality. when you put them all together. And the same happens with capitalism versus free enterprise, etc. They are all models, and you can all define the systems within the models and how it works. You can create a formula that governs that system, and the formula that governs the system called capitalism as practiced in the United States is a parasitic formula. Those who go to business school and run the system of the stock market and runs the systems of capitalization, etc., they are the ones that get the most out of the economy. They get rich, but they are the ones that produce nothing. The formula, their portion within the economic system is that portion that produces nothing. It's hard to understand after having been indoctrinated from birth in this country. But if you look at the mathematical formula governing capitalism, it is a parasitic formula. Folks, we have to have a media, an independent media that is willing to inform.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.